Hi guys, it's Tammy with Cheers to Creativity, and we are here for Kids Create to do some heart art. I did post some of the things we might be using today, but really it's a mixed media, meaning different kinds of media. So we might be using some paper, we might be using some paint. It's kind of whatever you have on hand that you might want to use. So I'm going to be showing you a couple different things using a couple chunks of wood I have, but you could do this on a canvas or you could even just do this on paper. And I'm going to be using things around the house like pieces from a magazine. This happens to be an old product magazine I have. You might want to use something like some old music. This happens to be some burlap-y ribbon I have. Here's some twine. And I collect a lot of bits and pieces, so I've got some that are actually pre-made that already done out. This one just happens to say enjoy the ride, but the idea is I'm going to be doing some background stuff. You can even be using scrap paper or even just paper that you take and you first scribble on with some color pencils or some crayons. So I'm going to try to find you all so I can get rid of this. My day has been kind of not as planned. If you live near me, you know it was a snow day, pretty much. So we kind of made the best of the day with what we could. And now let's see if we can find you. And cheers. Kids Create. There's our group. And there I am. So I'm going to set this off to the side. If you've got any questions, of course, let me know. If I don't see them now, I always go back and look at them. So even if you're checking this out on a replay. So like I said, I've got bits and pieces of all sorts of things. If you wanted to base coat or put a coat of paint on whatever you're going to be working on first, that's fine. I'm actually going to start with a piece of naked wood. And I'm going to do a couple different things, okay? So the one thing you will need is Mod Podge, because that's going to be how we layer everything together. And the idea is to have a heart of some kind. So that's going to be the heart art part. So whether you might have a wooden cutout of it, a heart, these come, a bunch of them in a package, very inexpensively at these I got at Hobby Lobby, I believe. And I believe there was 2 different sizes in there. This size, and somewhere there's smaller hearts too. So a couple different sizes in there, and like I said, they were quite inexpensive. Or you might decide your heart is going to get punched out. They sell punches that look like hearts. So here's a couple hearts that I've punched out that I might use. This is actually, you can see that it looks just kind of like a fun print, but it was actually a picture in one of my product magazines of a light fixture that I just came down and punched the heart out of. So the magazines that are sitting around, even just newspapers that are around, an old book that is okay with mom and dad for you to use. Like I said, something like sheet music, whether you want to punch it out or you don't have a punch, I'll show you how we can fold a piece of paper together and just use the scissors and cut out a heart. Or you can just take and draw a heart and then cut around it. You've got lots and lots of options. So I'm going to try to clear out a little bit of a spot because I've got a little bit of a mess going on. The other thing is we're going to be adding anything of dimension, maybe something like a key. These are keys that you can buy at the craft store, or even like the wooden heart that I talked about. You're going to need some kind of adhesive, a glue of some sort. You can use Elmer's glue. It's going to take a little longer to tack, to get sticky, and to dry. You have things like super glue and super fast quick glues. Those you really want to make sure we're using with adult supervision. And along with it, that adult supervision, Gorilla Glue, either in the quick grab form or this form, are probably my favorites because they dry really clear and really strong. As far as Mod Podge goes, they sell it, they sell it in craft stores, of course, and even at Dollar Tree. It does come in matte and gloss. This happens to be my big old bottle of matte Mod Podge that I have. And they do make Mod Podge for outdoor use and for glass and for things like that as well. All right, so you can take a lot of time and pre-plan what you're gonna do, or you can just gonna say, I'm just gonna kind of wing it and see where it goes with that. And I think that's gonna be a little bit more of my approach, to show you the first one or two of these. So I'm going to start my piece to just give myself a little background color. And for a little background color, I'm merely going to take a piece of paper that was in a catalog and gonna just tear a couple pieces. It doesn't have to be the exact item. I'm not looking to do the item. I'm really just trying to look to have some color. And I'm just gonna kind of lay a few different colors down, or pieces down. And I'm gonna have an idea where they're gonna overlap. I can always come back and trim my edges if I don't choose to have my edges go around. And I'm just gonna kind of give it a messy background finish, but I'm gonna put you down so you can kind of see what I'm doing, because you really don't need to see me. Again, if you got any questions, let me know, whether you're checking with me live or as we are, do this as a repeat. So, I'm gonna move a few things out of the way, waiting to see what we have, so I can see what you can see. And again, I am just using some old magazines that I had. I might pull a little bit of music. You can get very particular and look for words you want to use, but for this, I'm just grabbing a little bit of music. See if I can grab a little more color here. Boy, what do I want to use? I'm just grabbing another page or two out of a book. Like I said, this happens just to be a old catalog, so I can't use the catalog anymore. It's well expired. But I do like a lot of the different colors that come, if you're not being particular about an item, and I'm just trying to grab some color. Okay, so I've got this stuff that I can lay down here to kind of cover up my background. Go a little more. This is just gonna be my background, so I'm really not gonna care what exactly I'm putting on there. Okay. When you're doing decoupage, flip this way. As a rule, we like to put a coat of Mod Podge down on your surface, and then a coat of it on the back side, so that when you adhere it down, you're sticking sticky to sticky. All right, so I'm just taking a kind of a chip brush, and I'm going into my Mod Podge, and I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a quick coat. We'll be putting a coat of this over too. Like I said, if you wanted this just to be a painted surface behind it, that would be a really easy option as well. I'm taking the same brush. I'm just, brushing on the back side of this piece of paper that I'm gonna kind of lay down. And I'm gonna brush it down to try to make it stick a little bit. And if I want this to go around my edges, I'm just gonna make sure I've got Mod Podge on there. This does get a little messy, but that's okay. Messy's fun. I think messy's fun. And this kind of messy is not as cold as being out in the snow earlier today. So I've just brushed it down. Oops. I am working on a craft mat, so nothing's gonna stick to this. Make sure whatever surface you're working on is protected, so you don't get in trouble for making a surface dirty or sticky. Again, I'm just gonna, doesn't really matter. This would be my back side. So just stroking a little of the Mod Podge on there. And I'm gonna go over it, my edge. And I can either wrap my edges around with the Mod Podge, or I can trim those all off when I'm all done. Either way will work. You can go through great lengths of pre-planning this if you want to. And I know I'm going to be putting other stuff on top of it, so it doesn't bother me if I've got a couple spots that might have a tiny little hole that's not completely covered. Pick up my edge here. And just kind of knowing my fingers are going to get a little sticky. I'm just pulling that over. And I've got a little spot up here that I think I'm going to just stick a tiny little piece of something. How about, it's actually a little plant, but putting a little bit on the back side. This is still wet. I'm just overlapping it. It's always good to have like a little bit of water and a paper towel or some baby wipes nearby so you can kind of clean off your hands. That would have been way too smart for me to do. All right, we've got a base to work on. I'm just setting my brush aside, and I'm going to pick up some of this, it's like a burlap ribbon. I'm going to take a scissors, find a scissors here, and I don't need a ton of it. I just want a little bit to go across in one spot. Good. I just set it on there. I went back in and got a little more Mod Podge and putting it on top. So this is not going to be a super smooth project when I'm done. It's going to have some texture from the different things I'm using. And again, I can choose to wrap it around, or I can come back and just cut it off. This I might be coming back and cutting off. It doesn't want to like cooperate real well. Okay, so I have that. And I'm kind of looking around at what I've got for embellishments. And I've got this little heart that I'd already painted before. I might have him be down here to be part of my heart. But I also had punched out a couple hearts. So I might want to use one of those. And if the colors are going to blend too much, maybe I find, see, there's a lot of red in this advertisement. So I might come back in and find a way to punch a red heart. Ooh, look, that's fun. It's turned black and white on that side, and it's red and white on this side. I'm just going to set that down like that. That's kind of a funky heart. Maybe we'll do a more traditional looking heart. And if I can't get where I want to, I might need to just tear my paper just so I can get where I'm trying to go. In this case, I kind of wanted to see more of the red. And again, the back side's kind of fun too, so. So I'm going to put a coat of Mod Podge over that. Make sure my edges are going down. And then I kind of decided I liked this here. So I'm going to take a little glue on the back side of my heart. Less is more. You can always add more. You don't need to put too much on. And I'm going to put it just a little bit at an angle for me. I'm just going to set that down. Ooh. It's always good to have a paper towel handy. So if you have anything that's extra coming out of there, you can wipe it off. You kind of hold that down for just a second or two to try to give it a chance to tack down. My Mod Podge is going to dry clear. Here's one of the hearts that I punched out. So I'm going to Mod Podge that onto my wooden heart. So I'm putting a little bit of the Mod Podge down onto the heart and a little bit onto the back of my punched out heart. Oops, I'm going to throw it across the table. Set that about where I want it. And what Mod Podge does is it just kind of seals everything together. It will dry clear. It's best to let it air dry, so not to try to dry it quicker with a blow dryer or something like that. This is a little bit of wired ribbon that I have that I'm going to, I don't know if I can do it that way. So I think what I'm going to do in this is I'm going to take it, I'm going to cut just a tiny piece of it out. I'm going to fold mine in half, and I'm going to cut a heart shape. Try to cut a heart shape. You know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's a little too big, so I need to come back in and trim it up a little bit. So I'm just cutting them a little smaller. I will say cutting around that glitter is a little challenging. Tiny bit more of a point down here. So I've cut a heart that I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge on top of there. So I'm going to have 3 layers of hearts. So I've got my wooden heart, and then a paper heart, and then this fabric heart that's going to be on top of that. Okay. Now, I know I'm going to be okay with how this is going to look when it dries. You can't tell how it's going to look. We're going to set it aside, and when I set it aside, I can come back and trim, and then I'm going to wrap a little more twine on it. So I'm going to show you a different version, just so you have a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to start again with my piece of wood. This is wood I just happen to have sitting around, and I'm going to plan on using another wooden heart, but this heart is actually bigger than my surface, so he might actually hang over a little bit, but I'm going to want something in the background, and if I don't want to just Mod Podge paper, I might want to pick up just a paintbrush and a little bit of paint and just give it a little color behind there. Or maybe it's wanting to have the music behind there. It's really, again, this is where you get to be creative and figure out something fun. Even though this is wood, I might choose to come and use something like a scrapbook paper. That's all this is scrapbook paper. And if I make this about the right size, I'm just using the edge here, pushing down my edge, and I can trim that to fit my piece. And just like I did with the scraps of papers from my catalog, I'm going to take some Mod Podge and apply it to my surface. I'm going to apply a bit of it to the back of my piece of paper. Scrapbook papers are really fun because you can get a lot of different looks. Okay, I'll just set that on there so it's about where it needs to be. And I'm just going to take and apply a little Mod Podge on top of there so it seals it down. Now it looks like I have this very cool piece of wood to work with, and instead it's really just paper. I've got a little spot up and down here, so I know I can come back and add some trim or something to it if I'd like. Ooh, just put that in my paper. And this guy, what did I decide I was going to do? I said I kind of wanted to use the big heart, but I do think I'm going to go ahead and put a bit of the music down first. Don't need it to be quite as wide as this is, about like that. And I can kind of measure how much I'm going to need. Again, just kind of using the edge of my wood so I can trim that. And again, if it's not perfect, I can just have it wrap around. I'm going back into a little more Mod Podge to put on the back, and then to adhere it down with a coat on top. Edges we can come back and trim when we're done. So I've got the wood background, and I've got a little music that's going to show through. And if there's too much that my heart is covering, I might decide I'm going to change off and go with a smaller heart. I think I like this size better. So I'm going to use our glue again. I'm going to use just a touch of my Gorilla Glue. Again, like I said, if I know I'm going to be able to leave this dry flat, this is a great glue because it dries clear. I am going to have him be just a touch off the edge. I think I might look and see if I have any other embellishment that might work with this guy. Let's see. I have this little tag that says "For You" that I think might be kind of cute if we just have it half on and half off of the heart. So a little bit of the Mod Podge on my surface and a little bit here so it sticks. Oops, I moved it. Remember, this will dry clear. Then I have this tiny bit of music left, so I'm going to go ahead and use this punch. And put a little heart up here to tie my music theme around. And now I think I am going to use some twine. Set this down. I had that red and white. I just don't know if that's going to be quite the right color, so I might choose to pick up, to even just use a little bit of lace. This is like a cotton lace that could go across here. Or I can pick up the burlap again that we had. This is a different twine I have that has got red and twine and green, and that doesn't look too bad on there. And let's see, what else do I have? This has a little bit of gold in it, and this one is just plain twine. I'm gonna go with just the plain twine, and I'm gonna cut me off probably more than I need. And I'm going to, oops. Remember, my heart is glued, it's gonna be glued on there, so it might not be attached yet. So I'm just wrapping this twine around a couple times. And I'm going to tie it. And I could just tie it in a knot, that would be absolutely fine. Or if I want to tie it in a bow, I can do that as well. It gets harder the more messy your fingers are, I'll tell you that. So I goofed up last week and we were supposed to do a cardinal, and my day got away from me and we just never did it. So if you're interested in doing that winter cardinal still, just drop me a note in the comments and say cardinal, and I will see if we can find a day this week that we can squeeze that in. Okay. Oops, I didn't like mine, can you tell? So I'm gonna come back here and I'm just gonna tie a knot. There was a picture of it posted, so if you don't remember what I'm talking about, I'm gonna turn this around so I can look at it for a second and see if I can get that bow to be what I want. Sometimes it's hard to do things upside down. Yeah, I do like that now. So I'm just gonna pull this down under here. And I'm gonna come and trim, because I don't need that much. And I can trim my edge here as well. And that would be a really cute piece of heart art. And if I didn't like the way this looked right there, I could come back with either some more twine and wrap around, or just a piece of colored paper, or a ribbon, pretty much anything. Or I can even come back and take a little bit of paint. I'm going to show you that way. I'm just going to take a little bit of brown paint and take a little bit of any brush. Just take a little flat brush that I have here into my paint, and I'm just going to go from my edge and I'm just going to pull it onto the paper. It's going to be uneven, but that's okay. It still finishes off the edge, and then I'm just pulling it into the paper. I might even pick up and paint the bottom edge, maybe even my sides. But I'm really more concerned about just kind of finishing up that top edge to my paper. So I've showed you these on a couple pieces of wood. You could do these on another piece of paper and turn them into a cute card. Maybe instead of having the wooden heart, you would just have a cutout heart or a punched out heart. What I'm doing here is just painting the very top edge of this, so it's a little more finished looking. Pulling a little bit on from my edges. If I wanted to here, I could even one of these, grab one of the, we can grab a key, and I could tie it on to my heart, something like that. Okay, there's a couple very quick ideas for you to do for heart art. The one that is still drying here, I'm going to come back and just trim the edge on. It's still kind of wet, so we're going to try it if I don't kill my scissors. And I'm just trimming my edge on that burlappy part that hung over. So what I've ended up with is some texture. Wow. I've got the three things going on in my heart. I've got a couple hearts that we punched out. Our background is all different. And it's just kind of fun to have that kind of texture. And again, if you had something like a key, it might be really fun to adhere that with some of the glue as well. So if you've got some stuff around the house, you want to put it together and make it a little more Valentine-y. And I think hearts are kind of year-round. I don't think they just have to be for Valentine's. My husband would disagree with that. But just a couple quick things to show you. And again, if you pop on now or if you pop on when you catch a repeat and you still would like to do that winter cardinal, just let me know and I'll see if I can squeeze it in. If we don't really have any interest, I may just go on to our February projects. You will not see a lot of me other than possibly to do that cardinal. It's kind of supposed to be my creative week, but I kind of had part of that last week too. So until I see you again, please be safe, be kind, and cheers. Take care. Bye-bye. Enjoy the snow.